So, good morning. I guess what I want to do is discuss for the next half an hour any sort of issues, things you'd like to share, how you're finding it so far. Because I know it's quite intense and there's a lot to sort of take on board. And in the drawing sessions, it's you're kind of learning, remembering, and sort of taking it as you're going. And some of you are being taken outside your comfort zones. I did explain that on the first day, that some of you may not feel comfortable with using acrylics or using different mediums. That's sort of the goal of the course, is because I've looked at most of your work that you create by looking at your Instagram accounts and trying to understand who you are. And I can see that we will be taking a lot of you out of your comfort zones, because, fashion illustration, if you follow us, we have a very we're sort of a different side of what fashion illustration is. And we're trying to push out, we're going to push in many different areas. We've been going for about, since 2019, 2020. And I'd been working as a fashion artist illustrator, and had seen the lack of support, lack of understanding for fashion art, fashion illustration, all them sorts of areas as a practice, because I'd had exhibitions and I've got that side to me. I'd worked as a commercial artist in advertising, so I've got that area, and I'd also worked for fashion designers. So there's like three elements to me as a creative, what makes me sort of function and survive professionally. And I saw a lot of artists undervaluing what they did, underpricing what they did. And I don't know, I don't want to say lack of appreciation for the practice, but didn't understand it. And then where they undervalue it, it almost devalues it. So I'm trying my hardest as a sort of entity to break this mold. And that's a very difficult situation. And, I've spoken to many lecturers and people from different universities, how to make fashion illustration relevant again, because that's the biggest issue that we have, is relevance. And once it becomes relevant, like it was to then photography is sort of the powerhouse. How do we make fashion illustration relevant again, that it's seen as it's got a place? And I think that's the biggest crisis that we've got at the moment. And I remember speaking to David Downton, and he said to me a really interesting thing was, he was doing the cover for Vanity Fair magazine, and before him they were photographing the cover, and there was about 30 or 40 people involved in the whole process. So that would have been a big expense, and you had to have stylists and production and lighting and various elements. And then David Downton's, they said to him, okay, so where's your team? And he said, no, I'm on my own, and I've just got pencils and a sketchbook. And they were sort of shocked that it was just him. And it kind of triggered a bit of a moment for me where I thought maybe fashion illustrators or artists have to become more of a unified team. So when you illustrate, you have to seem like there's maybe more to you. It's a difficult one, because people like the big pizzazz of teams of people, and then this photographer or artist wanders in. We're not too sure. I guess we're trying to work that out, because people, when they see there's lots of team or lots of operation, they feel that it justifies the expense. Where when one person comes in, they're like, oh, well, you're just a person and you've just got coloring pencils and a sketchbook. Well, that's not very expensive, so you're not expensive. And I think that's what's happened, is it's sort of devalued the process of what fashion illustration is. So doing this course and why I started the course, and been speaking to Condé Nast, and I've been speaking to other universities about it, is that understanding not only the drawing side of what you do, but the how to ask for money, how to promote yourself, how do you navigate the spaces. And I think a lot of artists and illustrators, the biggest problem they have is they have a skill set where they can draw at home, or they draw in their studio, or they draw in their bedroom, and they put stuff on Instagram and they're amazing, and they still wonder why nothing happens. And in this course, or in this journey, is learning that your networking and your contacts is what will enable you to get the opportunities. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing that I have been listening to, and that I can kind of share with you. So through this sort of experience of these 4 weeks, is you know, it's all about drawing and experimenting and having the playful side to it and learning from that. But also the other area is to hopefully inform you about, you do all of this drawing, but how do you go out there and present it? How do you showcase this? Where are the spaces that you should be filling? Where could you exhibit? You know, if you have a gallery exhibition, is the gallery going to give you an opportunity that a fine artist would have? So if you see a fine artist exhibition, there might not be many people at the show. Where anything to do with fashion, there's lots of people turn up, but usually they're there for free alcohol and for the fun, and they're not doing much purchasing. So there's kind of a difficult, you have a great event, but you've made no money. So that, you know, there has to be this sort of tangible experience that you're going to kind of work out, and becoming much more business focused with how you function. And I think that's the crux of what this course is about. So all of you have abilities, and you all have different ways of executing. And, you know, where we talk to different artists who have different styles and different techniques and different ways of working, is not to look at, oh, well, they're really good and they've got lots of followers, and to kind of go down that route. That's the worst thing you could be doing, is to emulate. I have lots of the big illustrators complaining to me about a lot of pastiche illustration happening, sort of emulating the big guns. So finding your own voice will give you credibility, and whatever that style or technique is, you can learn from your peer group or the people before you. But really, you never know what people will really like about your work. And I feel that people buy into you as a creative, not necessarily that your work looks, obviously they have to live with the work, but then the next question is, how much are you going to charge for that work? So a friend of mine who's an artist, and he was like, I sold some art, and I was like, oh, fantastic. How much was it? £3,000. How long did it take? Half a year. So for 6 months, you've earned £3,000. You could work in McDonald's and earn more. Now, it's nice that you love art, and it's lovely that you're passionate, but how can you survive if you have this really long process, unless you're funded? So, you know, there has to be sort of ways of really honing down your sort of commercial practice of, this is how many hours I'm going to work, this is how I'm going to function, this is where I'm going to put my time, and you have a sort of a routine of how your operation will work. And people, like within our membership group and the people that we see, is they, like when they sell prints for, say, £30 for an A3 print, you know, if I print in a local printers to me, which is Print Space, which is a good printers, it costs nearly £30 to print the print. So how are you affording to sell the print? You create the artwork, deliver it and make a profit. Where's your profit margin? And these are really important factors. So when you're breaking down, you should be making a minimum of 50% profit on anything that you sell. So if you have a piece of art and you said it took me X amount of time, put all these variables down. And I guess this is the way, when I was more doing lots and lots of commercial work, how I valued my time, even though it's very difficult, because my agent might ring me up and say, okay, we have a job for you and it's £20,000, but it needs to be done by 2 days. And you're like, oh, right. Okay, done, finished. And then someone else rings you up and they say, I need you to do a job, £250. How long is it? It's a week. All right, so I did a job for £20,000, took me 2 days, and I'm now doing a job for a week for an editorial with lots of feedback, lots of changes. So it's very hard to sort of navigate how much to charge ever. It's like it's pulled out of the wind. And it really is difficult to make sense. So I think if you can work out, I've been speaking to the Association of Illustration, I've been speaking to various groups, how do illustrators or creatives charge? And I think if you have a day rate in your mind and you think about how long the artwork will take you, then I think that's a very simple way. So then you don't feel unhappy. But if it's an editorial and it's going to have large press and it's going to be printed, they have a set fee. So if you were in the Financial Times, like I did one not long ago for the Financial Times, I'll earn around about £350 to do a full illustration about A4 roughly, and that'll be a portrait. I did one of Grace Coddington, and that then from that, I got Grace Coddington, bought the drawing. So lots of opportunities can come from that. But I see there's a sort of negotiation between money to maybe prestige and also promotion. So you're exchanging. That's how you have to sort of work it out. So a lot of people who do magazines, like when I graduated from university and I worked for ID and I'd worked for Dazed and Confused, it was always free, but then it got me opportunities. So most people in these magazines would be working. The cooler the magazine, the lower the budget. That's the way to see it. The cooler the magazine, the lower the budget. And I think that's the way it sort of operates. And like another magazine, I may have mentioned this to some other groups, but another magazine said they'll give me £20 to cover Frieze Art Fair and do 10 illustrations. And I thought it was an insult. So I said, just give me a year's subscription, and that, you get something from it, but it's a tough one. All of these are tough. There's a certain amount that you want to work for, and then there's a certain amount that you'll work for free. And it is really to do with time, energy, and what will come in return from it. So we're doing something with Fashion Week, with Fashion Scout, which is like the new gen illustrators. And the illustrators are allowed to go in the space, they can draw, they can illustrate, they can work live. Now in that space, so if any of you go to the fashion shows, one is the artists always will attract people. Always, not the photographers, the artists. So if you're there live drawing, people always gravitate to you. And while you're there, depending on, like, we're going to be covering all the shows, is your opportunity is to be ready to not only work, but to promote yourself, share, find out all the people that you're linking up with, who's the model that you're illustrating, all of these elements, and tag them in everything. And that is, I've seen illustrators that have approached me when we first started and said, I have no work, I have no money, I'm not getting anywhere, and now speaking to me and saying, I'm too busy. And that's great. And that's purely because they used the model of talking to people, getting to all the shows, drawing at the shows, working for free, but with the prestige of connections. So the connections is what's going to get you your work, not necessarily your ability of how you draw. You know, I see lots of people who draw and their work is terrible. And they said their client list is, I'm working for Tiffany, I'm working for Balenciaga. And I'm like, how? Because they got out there and they were there in their face and they were like, I'm willing to draw and I'm happy to work. And opportunities will come. So ability, I think, is nearly 20% of your opportunity. It's really getting to know people and networking and being in the face of everybody. So I guess my first thing is for all of you, is once you learn up and build up all these skills and how to work, is from a commercial side, is really networking and putting the energy and the time in to get to know other characters. You know, if you follow Connie Lim, who taught you this week, she's everywhere. Like when she taught your class, she had been in Paris for one day teaching a live drawing class. Then she was in Italy 2 days before that doing another life drawing class for something else. And then she had to go back to London for LCF to teach her LCF class. So not only is she doing all of that, she then has commercial work on top of that and fitting us in. And then she's also going to be at Fashion Scout with me on the 17th of 18th of this month. So, and then I think she's flying to Milan. I'm in Milan on the 18th for Milan Fashion Week. So she's everywhere. And unfortunately, that's the way opportunities arise. And I think she's relearning that, because I think she was putting a lot of work into her work and forgetting about the sort of promotional side. So promotion of what we kind of get from these weeks and the people that we speak to, I think is going to be quite an important part. So when we get through the weeks, you know, I'd like to see how because at the end of the course, you're going to have sort of an overview tutorial with me and talk about your personal practice and what your plan of action is and what you intend to do moving forwards after this course. And you know, I'm still speaking to most of the people who have either left. I still speak to my students who I taught 15 years ago, and they still ask me either to be a reference. You know, when I was teaching at Marangoni, I know someone's joining Marangoni here, but I worked at Marangoni for 13 years, and I still speak to my students who've either started fashion brands or gone on to go to new universities or whatever. So, you know, the dialogue is always there. There's always going to be a conversation. So not only have we got the opportunity to meet like this, is there's always going to be a conversation, you know, and there's no harm in sending a message on Instagram. Sometimes I may not get back to you instantly, but, you know, this is why you're here, is to actually get to know some of us and open up a conversation with Connie, Chris, all the characters who you're going to meet throughout the course, and now going to be someone who you have a reason to maybe go, you taught me today and I had an experience. The conversation opens, and that's a gateway into all these people. So hopefully you as a scurrying creative will use this opportunity to really network, speak to us. And that's what I hope you achieve from this, is there's these different elements of tutors that you're going to have, the learning that you're going to have, and what you take away from it to then go on and hopefully give yourself robust enough sort of opportunities or goals. Yeah, and they're the questions I'll be asking you at the end. Is like I remember my goals: get published, like simple goal, like create a goal, have an exhibition. I remember, like Sarah, I don't think she's on here, but she's rejoined the course. Sarah, you know, her workflow was very, she was doing lots of live work, and you know, she was being more experimental. And I said, right, you've got to have an exhibition by the end of this year. I want to see you send me your invitation to your exhibition. I won't be able to come because it'll be in Australia, but just to prove that you will set a flag in the sand. So I think for all of you, when you do speak to me privately and I sort of interrogate you to what your work is, how you will leave here and sort of move on to your new sphere, whatever that is, because I'm sure all of you will have something that I may have touched into or will understand, whether it's being a fashion designer or an illustrator for a fashion designer. And, you know, I speak to many people, and many people ask me, you know, when I was teaching, Erdem was someone I used to bring in, Roxanda was someone I used to work with. We have Vivian Westwood, Oswald Boateng, lots of people, Tom Ford, you know, all these people who'd come in and sort of worked with us as teachers or as lecturers. And then you build up relationships. You know, Erdem was not, he didn't even have a company. He was still, he loved all the students that I passed on to him. And he still asks, can I have more students? I don't have any anymore. So, you know, and what you could bring to the table of all of these sort of companies. So that's, I guess that's a lot of information from my side. You've had a week, the first week, and you've brought in all of these new messy skills. I still see your houses look very clean, so you haven't gone crazy yet. Is there any sort, because I know some people were struggling either to get onto Zoom sometimes. So any questions, like any things that you couldn't get onto or you struggled with, or has it been fixed, or I don't know, any questions from yours? So we've got about 6 or 7 minutes before Connie joins us. So any questions, or are you all happy, or you're exhausted, or?
Yeah, Patrick. Yeah, I mean, it's not really related to the course, but about the Connie Crit. I mean, the designer's talk. I mean, I couldn't find the link.
Yeah, so Connie had done too much work, and then I told her, let's do it today. So she's kind of coming in today instead, rather than last night. I pulled it because she's just worked too much. And I said, no. So I've kind of moved it to this morning. So you're going to be involved in the dialogue for the designers' talks. I thought it would be quite nice to hear the talks as well live, and also that some of you can hopefully join the Connie's Crits and be part of it, because it's a great experience. So what isn't clear on the Connie's Crits, I don't know if any of you've seen, and we haven't really promoted it, is within the crits, we're going to invite like 3 or 4 different people from industry, academia, either illustrators, to then look at the work and give feedback. So it's an opportunity to watch a show, send it in, and then join into the talk, and then someone gives you some critical feedback, whether it's good or bad. For last time's experience, no one was that evil. So it wasn't like university crits where everyone's crying, but it was more of a just, this is quite good, I really like this, pursue that. And they select, because of time, we select about 3 or 4 different artists whose work we will just talk about. So it's a really great full-on experience. And I think all of you should try it and see what happens. And it's like, you know, it's really worth it. So Connie's going to be talking about it today. She's going to join us. And then obviously there's the diary for the crits. If the crit diary is
I mean the designers talk, because there's the Connie Crit's talk, and also the designers. I mean, the designers, I guess it was supposed to be yesterday, or
yes. So when we say the designers, all Connie is going to do is talk about the different designers and how to approach it. If we could get all the designers to talk, we'd be the luckiest people in the world, because there'd be the
Yeah,
big.
sorry. I thought, yeah, I
I
thought it was
wish
there.
we got all them. Raf
Oh,
Simmons
I
is going to
see, I
be
see.
talking to me.
Okay,
But
okay.
no, so it's really to talk about the designers and things that she would research and how she would approach a show. So it was like an early bird discussion about getting
Okay.
ready for the crits, because we felt with the crits, so none of you would have been involved in the crits, but what we did is we would watch the show live, so everyone would watch the show, and then we would give different time frames that you had to deliver illustrations in response to the show. So for example, we watched the Raf Simmons show, and within 2 hours you have to have the work ready as if you were sending it to press, or one day. And then so we're trying to sort of get illustrators to become more commercial, and to become more commercial you have to have time restraints. So if we watch Raf Simmons show and I'm going to be in a magazine, that magazine might say, well, we need it as quick as a photographer. A photographer takes his pictures, and then within 15 minutes of the show, they've all been sent to us and they're already gone. They're already on Vogue.com or Style.com. So how do illustrators sort of compete with that a little bit? Because I think that's an area, documentary illustration is not being covered enough. So that's some of the stuff that we're kind of working about and thinking about, is how do we make illustrators become back in the space? And, you know, it could be a wonderful quick drawing that it doesn't have to be finished. And I think that's why we're doing these 1 minute, 5 minute, because we really want everybody to get into this sort of way of working where you could go to a show, draw live, and within 5 minutes, you've captured the essence of the garment. Right, I can then take a photograph of it, clean it up in Photoshop, send it to Vogue.com, and we can now have 10 illustrations from the Alexander McQueen show. Why isn't that happening? I don't know, but that's our goal. So I can see Connie, but before I let her in, is there any other questions, or is... Yes, Julia.
Just with the times for the Connie's Crit, it says GMT time because I have to convert it to Australia time. Is it definitely GMT time, or is it
100%? It's in the evening. So what time would that be for you?
So it would be 5 o'clock in the morning if it was horrible. A 7 o'clock event for you.
Okay, so what you could do is, if you do see the show, you could send the work in, and then if it gets selected, you'll see the feedback and you'll just have to watch, unless you want to get up at 5 in the morning, which you might.
Well, I'm going to try to. So
yeah, so if you can,
I think it's actually GMT +1.
Yeah.
You're 9 hours at the moment if you're in Melbourne. Yeah. So we're still on British summertime until the end of October.
Right.
Okay. So I have to add 9 hours in.
Yeah. If you check the world clock on your phone, which is what I normally do because I'm an Aussie too. So in order to, contact people over East, it's 9 hours at the moment.
9 hours. Okay. So it's 4 o'clock in the morning then.
So I think is that I'm right hearing now, have we got 3 Australians?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Japan, so same time zone. So
same time zone.
Yeah. Oh, but I'm in London. Yeah. No, where are we? Sydney. Yeah, 9 hours.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you want to be up in that time of the morning, well, what my advice to you would be, watch the first one maybe on a recording, because we'll post it up. And well, you'll be able to see the past crits. I'll post some of the crits on the channel, and you can watch them and see what you think. Okay. And you'll see there's some great people that we've invited. Some really interesting characters that are giving feedback, and just to see who they are, and because like Richard Kilroy, who's a really important illustrator, he was involved in the crits as well. And he's an academic as well. So there's lots of, we've got people from Condé Nast, we've got people from CSM, all the different universities. So if you were applying for a university, it's great to see their feedback. Just all them sorts of things. So there's a real whirlpool of people that are in the crits. I'll post after this meeting some of the crits that we've had, and you can just have a watch and see how you feel about it. But it's they're not negative. Like I made a rule that we can't be, you can give a bit of constructive feedback, but nothing that's going to make people run away and never come back. So we're trying to be semi-nice. So hopefully that's good.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Yes, Amy.
Patrick, on a purely kind of housekeeping level, each of our sessions, are they about 2 hours?
Yes.
There's no sort of
after 2 hours, you'll be exhausted. It gives you enough information because we're not putting a break in there anywhere. So it's literally 2 hours intense, and then you can go away, do some more work, and then kind of give it back to us.
Oh no, that's fine. It's just on our schedule. There's no sort of end time. It doesn't ever say 12 to 2.
They're always 2 hours.
Yeah.
So everything will be 2 hours long and no shorter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. 2 hours is good.
It's more than enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, Stephanie.
Sorry, I've got a quick one. I just wanted to know if the recent passing of the Queen is going to affect anything of next week's events, like at the Fashion Week and all that. But I was just wondering if it would.
That's a good question. I know lots of things are being cancelled at the moment, but I'm pretty sure.
Because I'm going to be there, but I'm traveling from France.
I'll contact Fashion Scout, but I think the show will go on. There's too much money at stake here.
Okay.
And I think in the UK, we were meant to have 3 days of mourning, but they've cancelled it because of the economic crisis. So they can't do any, we just got to keep carrying on. Okay. That's it. The show must go on.
All right.
Unfortunately, well, that's the way. So yes, you'll be fine and it will be good, and I'll be seeing you probably in person then. So yeah, that will be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to let Connie in. Was there any other questions, or are you all okay? Good. All right, here's Connie.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Connie.
Nice to see you all again.
We can't see you. We can see your name.
I'm here.
Lovely. So I'm just going to. We're recording at the moment, Connie.
Yep.
I'm just going to put on you as the speaker. And I just was explaining to them that, you know, you're going to now talk about the crits and the designers and their approach to it. And I'm also going to share with them the previous crits so they can watch what happens in the crits.
Yeah, sure.
Because they're quite intense, aren't they?
It's really intense.
They were really intense. Do I need to let you share my screen, or are you?
Should we talk about the crit first and then the designers, or?
It's up to you. I'm going to let you decide what's best for you, because it's Connie's crit. So
maybe we should talk about the crit first, so then everybody knows the context behind.
Yes. Okay. Do you want to speak about it?
Yeah. So the crit came about with Patrick asking me about the crit, but basically, think about Show Studio. You know how they do designer talks with panelists after the show, and they critique the show. And we thought there wasn't anything like that for illustration. So nothing like that with fashion drawing. So it's kind of missing. And it was a nice way to just bring people together and have conversation, because I feel like as artists and illustrators, we're kind of in our separate little caves and we don't really get together and just have chats. And so we thought it was quite nice to have give challenges to artists, so give them something to do, like a brief. So Connie's crit was a brief on illustrating from the catwalks during London Fashion Week. We're starting out with London Fashion Week first, just to test the waters. That's what we did in the last one. And basically, we thought about how illustrators can compete with photography, because, you know, photography is really instant. The moment the shows are up, the photos are up, maybe like 30 minutes to an hour afterwards. So why aren't illustrators there at the front row? Why aren't we drawing backstage? Why aren't we creating buzz? Because we can do so much. We can add so much to the shows itself and the design and the creation. And then so we kind of timed it so that some of the crits are like 2 hours after the show. So you have 2 hours to draw. And then we share the artwork. We picked me and Patrick, we selected from the hashtag Connie's Crit, Vida Connie's Crit. And a few of them were, I think, a day and then 2 days. And then we have like 6 days to, maybe it was 2 weeks, I can't remember. But then you can see the drawings kind of change with the timings. You know, we did the timings the other day.
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting to see, like under pressure, but it was quite fun. And we had amazing panelists ranging from like other illustrators to lecturers to people who work in the industry, just everybody. We try to get diverse people to come and critique the artwork. So they give valuable feedback, really, really good feedback actually, to help our artists, you know, grow, try new things. And I thought it was quite beneficial for everybody. And it was just nice to talk about art. And, you know, if you're passionate about something, you can come together and we all talk about it and we feel really good leaving the talk and feel inspired. Sorry. So that was the whole point of it. And I guess another thing is to talk about issues that we as illustrators come across, how to, I don't know, I guess they give advice on how to approach certain problems. Like, can you remember some, Patrick?
I think what we noticed was that the work didn't always improve the longer the time. So that was a big telltale sign for us, is that we thought if we gave people longer that the work would improve, and it didn't. It was a classic, like, students leave it down to the last minute. So we noticed that the more time people had, it didn't improve. There wasn't any sort of negative feedback. I think that what people really liked to see was that what I noticed was that once it had finished and sort of kind of calmed down, then people started to send more work, and we started to see a whole new range of, so it sort of inspired people. People were scared to put into the crit, which is fine as well. And we do hope it motivates people to create work from it, like to trigger ideas. But like I spoke to you all this morning, is about, we're trying to think, how do we become more commercially viable? So it's nice that you draw things from a show, but fashion is so responsive and so quick that if you want to have, you know, and you want to be involved in editorial or a part of something, we feel like it has to be on the pulse, and then you can make longer, bigger pieces. But I felt that was the biggest sort of takeaway for me, was that time didn't really affect the outcomes, because Connie does them as well, which is great. And I think I did one on an iPad, and I think I'll try and do more, but I'm pressing all the buttons, so I'm too nervous to make mistakes. So, but it's good to put yourselves in there. Yes, I see. It's Amy.
Let me unmute myself. So you're actually, are we watching a live runway show and then you're trying to draw from that?
Correct.
So in other words, it's not a still image. These are moving.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean at the Fashion Week this weekend or next weekend?
No, so the shows that we're covering, like
previously, or, you know, I just wondered because there's it's quite a difference to be able to drawing from that movement. It, you know, is quite a different thing to be drawing from rather than a still image. And I wonder if that also influences then you saying about time, because really you've still only got that sort of fleeting moment of time that you're trying to draw. If you then have more time, that doesn't necessarily improve what you're looking at. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so what we noticed, there's a few things from this, is one is some people drew from the shows and they did screenshots of of the show, so they could capture that moment and then like have a bit more time to do more detail. Some people then waited, because if we gave them a bit longer, they waited for Vogue.com or Style.com to release them and then draw from them. And what we did notice a little bit was that when you draw from the photography of the Vogue.com, it felt like sort of reportage of their pictures, where if you draw from the live show, you're using your imagination more, the artworks felt more spontaneous. So it was harder, but at least, and also like I'm doing a journal at the moment with another one of the artists we called Sophie's Screenshots, and she uses just photographs of videos from the shows, and that really reminds me of like drawing live, and it gives a much more interesting dynamic to the outcome rather than this static like walking figure, which it feels a little bit dead. And I think that, but you need to find that out. You need to draw from both, and hopefully you will find maybe a new mode of drawing rather than I'm just going to work from Vogue.com, and that's the only area.
Yeah, I think also the theme, because we did a series of 5 or 6, and then as we kept talking, we came up with a theme at the end. It was illustration gives another life to the show.
Yeah,
and I feel like that kind of wrapped everything that we talked about, because initially we were asking like, how can we compete with photography? And I think Richard Kilroy said we shouldn't compete with photography because it's completely different. Because that was quite interesting point as well, and how illustration gives a collection a new life. So
yeah, I can't remember who said that, but I think it was someone from Agent and Artists, and she had said it gives a second life.
Yeah,
and I think that was the name we gave to the sort of magazine. And what I tried to do is I then tried to put it in a sort of wrap it up in a magazine format, so then people can have a copy or do something as a digital file. So we have some sort of outcomes. So there's the crits will happen, the illustrations will happen, and then I try to put it into the context of an outcome. So, you know, I can show some of that to you as well and send you some bits. So it's a full-on, it's a hard experience for us, but it's interesting to see, and it has to happen. Like me and Connie had been speaking about it, and I guess it's how do we make people listen more or take us serious? And I think that was the biggest reason why we did it. I think that's our sort of goals and our idea behind this, no?
yeah, and we'll continue.
And we'll continue.
Yeah, I think because if it becomes more consistent, people will tune in a bit more and be more involved. If it's like, if we do it every season.
Yeah, and I think also us being live at Fashion Scout will be really good. So it's slowly growing, and I think people are really starting to take us more seriously. And as that happens, then, you know, a sort of switch eureka moment might happen, and then people go, wow, these are really interesting happenings. And that's our goal. And it's just time. So we started it for the last Fashion Week. We're now doing it again. It seemed to work really well, and let's see how it goes. And I think all of you should be involved.
Yes, be involved.
Be and don't be scared. Don't be scared. We noticed it's really tough.
Yeah.
It was really hard.
You've done your timing homeworks, so that will probably help you time yourself really quickly. Yeah. Do you want to show them a little bit of the previous one?
I'll send them the links so they can kind of watch it in their own time.
Okay.
And then I guess what we could do quickly now is just go, because we've got the 6 shows that we're going to go through. If you want to talk about them, I don't know if you wanted to show anything or.
I made a mini document that I thought we could work on together.
Okay.
With everybody. So,
let's have a look.
Yeah. I'll share my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Cool. So we can start with Erdem. Erdem is Canadian. He's, I think, half British as well. Basically, he's known for his floral frocks and botanical prints, and he's always thinking about the English garden, I think. And, you know, I kind of highlighted what his woman was about. It's very individual, but she wears what she likes when she wants. I did a little bio of Erdem if you want to look it up, and some links underneath.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah, just as nice because you kind of have to know who the designer is, where they're coming from, I feel, to really get a feel for the collection and their journey. So I feel like he's quite feminine, but there's like a dark romantic undertone to his work. So I mean, you can see more of his bio, so you can see all his collections here. And I thought we could, I don't know, depending how much time, this was quite nice that I found. I think this video kind of sums up him, a lot about him. It's very dreamy, romantic feeling. It's almost over. Details. Yeah,
You think-
yeah, very beautiful. So hopefully you get this like nostalgic feeling. So I was just looking at keywords, maybe romantic, floral, dramatic. There's a sense of artistry, very beautiful, very poetic. So in terms of materials, I was thinking ink. You guys can try inks, watercolors, pencils, color pencils, very delicate, maybe in a way very delicate. I'm not so sure. Any suggestions?
What I would have maybe done as well is, you know, when you do like frottaging, which is like rubbings.
Rubbing?
So yeah, like a rubbing. I don't know if you ever did rubbing. So you could put a piece of material underneath the paper and you rub it.
Oh,
It
okay.
gives you a texture. So because he's quite textual, like a lace material could be under.
Yeah, lace material.
That's quite a nice way of playing. And also you can come prepared. So you could look at materials that he might make his garments with and almost have them, and if you wanted to collage them, and you cut out the silhouette and then you could draw on top, and that could be a really nice way of doing a fast, almost decorative floral.
Oh, I like that word, decorative.
Yeah, and I think Erdem really encapsulates that. So
yeah, decorative.
It reminds me of Paolo Reversi as well. You know, his photography. The draping that goes in the backgrounds. It's a very old sort of
old
photography studio.
Old photography.
Yeah, so if they could look at Paolo Reversi photography, and I think it gives, that's very romantic.
Can you spell his name?
Paolo.
Paolo.
Yeah, Paolo Reversi. R-O-V, not river, like Rov. R-O-V-E, Reversi, E-R-S-I.
Okay. I will put this document up in the Slack afterwards. So
yeah,
just for all of us.
Perfect.
So yeah, you can look at all his shows here, which I linked, and it's quite nice to see it as a collection. So you can see the journey of his shows, and you can kind of see a floral, very dark, beautiful theme going on. with pops of color, I think. Yeah, so that's Erdem. I did a little research on Roxanda. She's a Serbian designer, and she's all about colors. It's part of her DNA. And I quite like her bio, and I think reading her bio really gives us a feel about who she is. So obviously she graduated from women's wear from St. Martin's, and women conscious design for women, she started Roxanda. So she's seeking to challenge the perception of traditional beauty through a blend of opposites. She creates pieces that reveal a woman's personality while providing a sense of shelter and refuge through their unique design. I thought that was quite interesting, shelter and refuge. So she does color blocking, and she actually studied architecture before. So she has this architectural influence with distinctive cuts, innovative fabrics, and I guess focus on craftsmanship, accessories. She uses bold color and has love of oversized sculptural sleeves. I think her garments in this collection is quite oversized, which is quite cool. Dynamic prints, and she's definitely influenced by modern and contemporary art. And I think she's very a big member of the contemporary art community. So you can see that influence in her collections. Creating display of art, dance, and fashion. So featured, museums. So you can get a feel how she's very different from Erdem. So you can go to her collections here. I quite like this short video of the new collection.
It was a large room full of people, all kinds. And they had all arrived at the same building at more or less the same time. And they were all free. And they were all asking themselves the same question. What is behind that curtain?
It's nicely shot. Very cinematic.
The sea is calm tonight. The tide is full. The moon lies fair upon the straits. On the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand glimmering and vast out in the tranquil bay. Come to the window. Sweet is the night air. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon-blanched land, listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles, which the waves draw back and fling at their return up the high strand, begin and cease, and then again begin, with tremulous cadence slow, and bring the eternal note of sadness in. Sophocles long ago heard it on the Aegean, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. The sea of faith was once too at the full, and round earth's shore lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. But now I only hear its melancholy, long, withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. Ah, love, let us be true to one another. For the world, which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. And we are here as on a darkling plain, swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night.
So yeah, really interesting collection. They did a collaboration with Fida, I think. So you can see all the images here on the bottom. Quite masculine, but very feminine as well with all the fabrics. I really like this one. It's a bit crazy. So yeah, big shapes, very colorful, and lots of different textures and prints. So I feel like her next collection could be really fun to draw. Lots of ways of going about it. So in terms of, keywords, I was thinking contemporary art, fine art. She's also very commercial. I've read an article about how she collaborated with a PR, agency. It's where they do all it's a branding agency who did all her rebranding. So yeah, it's a very interesting designer. And I think this one, she did an article about artists that influences her. So you can have a look at this one. So it's like an interview with her, I think, about her collection and her past, just to get to know her a little bit more. So she's really influenced by sculptures and paintings. That's really cool. Yeah, you can kind of see it, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Where she gets her influences from.
Jessica Bird covered the show.
Yeah, she did an internship with them, I think, for many years.
Yeah.
I can see Jess doing drawing her stuff. So yeah, you can have a look at that from the Frieze article. And so I was thinking with her collection, you can go so many ways. I think ink and watercolor for the really drapey, silky garments, Posca markers, oil pastels, like graphic colors for the really bold shapes.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to recommend some materials?
I think if I was to do it and looking at what's quite important here, what Connie's showing you is when you go to do a designer's collection, is to understand their DNA and understand where their visual language is. And if you see, she loves them sort of graphic black artists who like these big marks. You could be using big dry brush painting. And I think that, I'd be looking at doing paper mechanics. Like if I want to stand out and be seen as doing something different, look, cut paper, collage. Exactly, Amy. And I think that's what colored card. I'd be thinking in 3D because I'd want to capture the imagination of Roxanda. So she goes, wow, you're not just in a 2D world of illustrating on paper, you're thinking in 3D. And it could be that then you photograph that, print it, print the 3D thing, and then draw on top of it. And I think that's a way that we could work more, is introducing 3D photography and then working on top again. This, you know, if we look at the work of Christo, and Christo, he used to bring in photocopies and collages, and then he'd draw on top with chalks and charcoal, crayons, and inks. I think he's I don't know if anyone saw Christo's work, but fascinating artist. And it's good to have all of these layers that sort of comes towards the work that you're going to make. And it could be quite expressive, like and even performance. Remember, I don't know if you saw the show studio where they did, I think they did Roxanda's as a performance piece, a response to it. Did you see it? Where the woman lied on the floor and she was sort of drawing circles on the canvas. And that was their fashion illustration response to Roxanda's collection for show studio. And I thought it was a real move forward for performance image making. And Tomeo, if you're on here, Tomeo, remember I keep talking to you about performance image making. The work in progress is as important as the actual final piece. We could become more performative based because of like reels and what we're doing now. I don't know if you saw David Downton's recently did a piece where he was drawing live with his big charcoals and stuff like that. So everyone's having to embrace video. Video is coming, and Instagram has said it, so you can't ignore it.
Yep. It's true. Anybody else think of, I mean, I think her direction is really strong, like her brand DNA and the keywords.
Yeah, I was just reading in the chat, Izzy was saying about tonal paper, perfect, and Amy, collage. Yeah, collage, all of these things, perfect. That's what I think would be magical for it. You could even be like Matisse, paint the paper and then you cut the paper. So you make your own colored paper rather than buying pre-made colored paper. So, you know, how Matisse worked with this sort of, he painted all the paper, it was all ready, and then he goes and cuts it all. You know, make your own colored paper.
Yeah, exciting. Okay, should we move on to the next?
Yep.
So Raf Simons, very different. He's a Belgian designer, and I think his most important thing is pride and individuality. So he's really into youth culture. I think I'm going to show you the actual article. It's more interesting. Sorry, the text is a little bit crazy. So he's fueled by his love for both rebellious youth culture and traditional menswear. I think he's doing women's wear since 2021. So he's doing both. He merges fashion halfway through the 90s, radically different image of masculinity, which is quite interesting, fusing the energy and singularity of teenage subcultures with the sharpness and precision of classical sartorial craft. The look presented by Raf Simons is both inspired by and designed for confident outsiders. So he's really influenced by music, art, performance, images, and words when he does like the whole package of the collection. Yeah, so keywords to think about here is attitude, mood, and statement. And he's very innovative if you see his collections. And I quite like that he's looking for the now and tomorrow, even though if they're inspired by historical classical references, which I thought was an interesting point. So the signature style is always evolving and maturing, but the key elements stay the same: modern proportions, a constant research for fabrics and textures, above all the interplay of pure construction, new shapes with the body and psyche of the contemporary man, now woman as well. So we can have a look at, oh, I was just there. Where did he go?
You can see why Prada's took him on.
Yeah, so he's recently with Prada now.
Yeah.
Why is it's not clicking.
It doesn't like you anymore.
No, come back. How very odd.
Is your Wi-Fi gone down or something?
No, you can still see me. How odd.
Maybe stop sharing and reshare.
Yeah. Okay.
So just while Connie's doing this little playtime, is one of the things we discussed is how to make fashion illustration have more integrity. Yeah, that was one of our big discussions. So what Connie's showing you here is there is a sort of a back catalogue of research and understanding for the designer, the brand, and you are showing that there's integrity to your research. So if anyone discusses with you, you have a breadth of knowledge to how you've engaged with the designer. It isn't you just been a decorative element to the designer. You're actually, like we're saying, this second life is you're going away and sort of like Picasso rifting off the past, looking at Velasquez and then making his own. You're doing the same. You're looking at a designer and you're making your own, but you're understanding the context of what the designer is trying to say. And that is one of the big challenges, and what we're trying to do for the fashion illustration community is to bring in that integrity to what we do, because at the moment it looks superficial and sort of surface based. So hopefully in time we'll tick these boxes.
Yeah, and I think the more research you do and understand the brand, the more I think it will challenge you as an illustrator to try new things, because you're going to try to capture this Raf Simons look in different ways, if that makes sense. So I think it's constant pushing, forging ahead with. It's like having a foundation degree, isn't it? You need a good base. Yeah.
But I think an MA is a foundation.
Really?
When you do a master's, it's the same as doing a foundation, because it's very playful and it's deconstructing your practice.
Yeah. I like that. That's what I need to do. I really like this website because you can actually go to looks, and then and then details are really nice. So
yeah, lovely.
Some really good photographs of detailed work, and so it's quite nice compositions as well.
Yeah.
I love that earring. You can see a 90s influence, a little bit of the youth culture, but still very well made, very well tailored. And just his play with different fabrics, it's really different, gives different textures. I think this was the latest collection.
You could. I remember when we taught quite a lot at Marangoni, is doing levers using Pantone pens. They're quite good for doing. So we don't talk about Pantone so much, but for doing levers and certain materials, Pantones or I think Letraset are now doing them. But the markers, he would be quite good for doing markers.
Yeah, I think did I write that down? I did, yes.
Oh well, yeah.
I did this like
You're talking too much, Connie.
So I thought, I didn't show you the whole. I mean, I hope you're getting a feel of what his collection is about, because he is in charge of Prada now, but before he was with Calvin Klein for a little bit, and before he was with
Jill Sander.
Yeah, Jill Sanders and
who else?
Oh, there was one more. Dior, yes.
Dior, yes. Obviously, we forgot Dior and I.
Yeah, Dior and I, yes.
It's a great film.
So good. It's really inspiring. And he studied. I don't think he studied fashion, did he? He studied something else.
Is there any copyright issues if you draw from photographs? No, you're not making replicas of the pictures, so you're fine.
Yeah. Oh, is that hand of the drawing? The drawing?
I don't know.
It's
Looks
quite
like wood. Is it wood or something? I don't know.
it's like a drawing. But yeah, you can see really nice tailored garments mixed with, I feel like it's a bit grunge.
Yeah, definitely.
Grunge, 90s grunge. So interesting mix, very youthful. Yeah.
The grunge with the eyes. That.
Yeah. So you're getting a feel very different from Roxanda. It's nice to see them next to each other so you can see the differences. So it's like edgy, cool, innovative, modern, street youth culture. I thought a lot about pen and ink and lots of pen, you know, like the 90s grunge pen drawings, like Nirvana's drawings.
Yeah.
Lots of words. So paints, Posca markers. I thought collage would be quite nice as well.
Yeah.
Anybody else have suggestions?
I'm trying to think what else we could do. I think the markers is a perfect one.
Yeah, maybe I can bold that. Markers. I did try to look at some previous fashion illustrations of his work. Hard to find, actually.
He works with quite a lot of artists. Like he worked with Nowhere to Boogie and stuff like who's a painter. So he uses a lot of painters on his prints and stuff like that. You know, when he worked at Calvin Klein, obviously he used Warhol. But, and he loves photography. He loves like the sort of snap photographs that are put on his prints, and you can see these sort of graphic marks. But I think even a wood cut, like you could really go playful, a lino cut, so you get really big blocks and you could chip into it, and it would give that sort of like look like the German, you know, the German abstract German expressionists. I've got some great books on German expressionists as painters and drawers. So you're looking at George Grosz, Kathy Kollwitz.
George, how do you spell Grosz? Grosz?
Grosz. And I'm trying to remember. Kathy Kollwitz is amazing pencil drawer. Kathy would be Kathe, and then her surname is Kollwitz, which is Kollwitz. It's a K at the end. It's a K in her surname is a K. KK. Yeah, Kollwitz. And if I can think of any more, I'll let you know.
So yeah. Any questions about Raf Simons? No? Okay.
He's great.
I'm curious to see how the illustrations will come out for Raf Simons. Okay, J.W. Anderson, Irish designer. And I didn't actually know this, I should have known, but he was quite interesting because he makes collections that both men and women can wear. So androgyny is a big thing for him. We can read more about him on his website. Accept cookies. So modern interpretation of masculinity and femininity by creating thought-provoking silhouettes with a conscious cross-pollination between menswear and womenswear elements. So this idiosyncratic perspective, which earns the label cult following, prompted J.W. Anderson to present a women's, and he's also the creative director of Low, the Spanish brand. And he's won lots of awards. And of course, everybody probably knows his collections. We can look at it. Oh yeah, so if you want to read the evolution of J.W. Anderson, it's quite an interesting read. He's actually in the same studio as me before in Shacklewell Lane.
I think he did one of the most downloaded designs. He did during lockdown, you know, he did the quilted top that everyone, like they were embroidered, like making squares. Did you see that? And he gave the pattern out, Harry Styles wore it, and
I
then
thought that was Daniel Fletcher.
no, I'm hoping that I'm right.
I think it's Daniel Fletcher. I just read about it.
Was that the square?
Yeah, that's the patch, because he couldn't get fabrics from his fabric factory.
I thought that was J.W. Anderson.
No.
Well, at least
Okay.
Daniel's in our group as well.
Yeah.
I thought that was J.W. Anderson.
Quite similar, I think. There's some similarities between them, I feel like.
Yeah, I like them.
Yeah, I definitely think J.W. Anderson is a bit more whimsical, like a bit more.
Yeah. Have you been to his store? Have you seen his stuff?
I've seen his stuff, but I haven't been to the store.
Yeah. So I saw J.W. Anderson early, and I found his construction and his design was very badly done.
Was it?
Yeah, I found his garments were really badly made. But they were that's early bird designer, but now he's got a lot of money behind him.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, he has low as well.
The finishing's much better now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so this was his latest collection, so you can see a lot of whimsical ideas. For me, it's very skater grunge as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's my favorite collection, but there is some interesting things going on. This website is, oh, here it is. Maybe I should get rid of this Hyde collection.
He's very fine art.
Yes.
It's a very fine art, with the glove on the top. That sort of reminds me of trying to think of the artist, Germanized. Not Dieter Ram, but he has that sort of like modernist.
Yes.
Like almost conceptual. He's very conceptual.
Yeah, I mean, that image is a painting. It's like a selfie, like the old.
Is that Goya?
It says in the show.
Or Rembrandt.
Oh, it's Rembrandt. Yes, Rembrandt.
Yeah, it's a self-portrait of Rembrandt.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, we were the same people taking selfies back in the day as well."
Yeah.
So quite funny. You can read about him here. I think he does a lot of stuff like this as well, which could be interesting to illustrate, take like an illustrator's perspective, but very fine art in terms of how he portrays his collection.
I think Jürgen Teller shoots his photographs, so it is like this, bins and things in the background.
Yeah, but very different compared to other brands.
Yeah. I like him.
I like him too.
I like his communication. I think the way he communicates is really good.
Yes. That bag. Is that anime on a bag? Oh,
yeah.
So you're getting a bit of a feel for his aesthetic, just looking at these images. So yeah, have a look at his shows, previous shows. I mean, for me, he's so cheeky, whimsical, androgynous, innovative. He deals with social issues, a bit of streetwear and youth culture as well.
Yeah.
He's more bright compared to Raf Simons. Like, I wouldn't say happy, but brighter.
Yeah.
Pen and ink, pencils, paint, postmarkers, collage.
If I was to do it, I would illustrate it, and then I'd probably have a very magazine approach to how the outcome would be. So like a little bit like Quinton Jones, where she might collage, photograph it. It would be a lot of working on it, like keep working on it. It isn't just you do a drawing. It would be do a drawing, scan it, print it, put it in a magazine, draw on it again.
Draw on it and then cut it again.
And then cut it again. So it has a very complex process. And then it could be a very minimalist outcome. I think that's how I would approach his fashion illustrations.
Like in a fine art setting.
Yeah, with a fine art philosophy,
Oh,
Who have we got showing at the moment? The German photographer. I can't remember his name. I've been reading about him all day and I've forgotten.
too many things.
Too many things to remember.
Remind me too. Put it in a magazine.
Unless anyone can remember, I can see a tick in there. Who's the photographer showing in MoMA at the moment? Do you mean crochet? Yes, you're right. That was for earlier. Thank you. And I feel like using Sharpies. Yes, Sharpies 100%.
Sharpies, caps.
Sharpies, very, and Conte as well. Gives you.
Oh yeah, Conte.
When we looked at what's his name drawing yesterday, Chris Gambrell, and he was using Conte pencils. Really nice. Gives you a really graphic mark.
Do you want me to look it up? MoMA photography.
Who's showing? Don't know. It's coming up. So I've been reading a lot about it. Anyway, I'll find it and I'll get it back to us. I think it's coming. So I saw Freeze talking about it.
Okay.
Background.
So yeah, that's J.W. Anderson. Next is Daniel Fletcher, who is a London-based designer, and from what I've seen, he deals with a lot of social issues. Runway. Let's go to his website. So Daniel Fletcher. Actually, I don't know where I found this article. Oh yeah. So he actually is, I think he started 7 years now in 2015. And he worked with LVMH and he won a few prizes for British Vogue, blah, blah, blah. And then I think he's best known because he was on that Netflix show, London, Next in Fashion with 10 Friends. And
yeah, he was runners up, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was runners up, which was quite cool. And he's the artistic director for Italian heritage label Fiorucci. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Ferrucci, it's called.
Ferrucci.
It's an old school brand.
Yeah, which is quite interesting contrast, I think.
Yeah, Ferrucci was kind of a cool brand. There
was it?
The other one was like Sergio Tacchini. So you have Ferrucci and Sergio Tacchini. Ferrucci, I think, was more fashiony. Sergio Tacchini was more street.
Oh, okay.
I'm showing my age now. That was in the 50s.
Still young. So yeah, his approach is very contemporary, looks into society, British culture, current affairs, and it focuses on casual luxury and exploring heritage techniques. And I think he's very into sustainability, hence the patchwork thing. So let's go into, yes, this is the one. Scrap heap, that's the one.
Wait, I'm still waiting to see if it is.
This is the scrap piece. It's the one that because of COVID happened, he couldn't get in touch with his factories. He made these quilts and then he would send them to you. Yeah, it's him.
I'll give you
making quilts, selling them on his website. He would sell packages to people on how to make it as well. Yeah, bundle scraps for people to make their own quilted cushions during the lockdown. Available for free on his website, tutorials, which I thought was really cool because not a lot of designers do that. So that's the quilted pillow that you can get.
But they are starting to do it now. So I think the modern designers have become like developers, like open source. You can share stuff. So it's totally changing.
Yeah. Whereas before, everybody was really guarded, right?
Yeah.
Their brands and stuff. I think that's better though.
Yeah. Well, I think TikTok has brought a bit of that on as well, where people are decoding and sharing.
Yeah, like sharing their secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's a really, I feel like he's a relatively young designer, and obviously he's involved in TV and stuff. I think fashion is quite, I think the fashion schedule is quite old fashioned. Who cut his teeth at Louis Vuitton, Lanvin, Victoria Beckham, and Burberry before establishing his label in 2015. A lot of young designers often feel the need to compete with these big Paris houses when their business model is completely different to ours. Why are we trying to compete and have a huge fashion show every 6 months on a fashion week calendar when you can do far more interesting things that are relevant to your brand and your customer and make sense for the size of your business? I like that a lot. Very smart guy.
Yeah. He's thinking logically.
Exactly. It's really illogical to have 6 seasons
It's unaffordable and non-sustainable.
It's mad. So this is his collection of collections that you can see on Vogue. And I think this is the cutout one. I think he is the only person that did the physical garments during lockdown. That's what I read.
Yeah, because he can make them.
Yeah. Exactly. I feel it's quite classic still, but very intricate details. So little tiny details, but very classic. I mean, I'm sure it's well made.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Let's go to his recent collection, which might be different.
I wonder if he'll replace the guy at Burberry, because he's leaving now, Riccardo.
Oh yeah, Riccardo Tisci.
Yeah.
Is he leaving?
His contract finishes at the end of this next year or something. Yeah. He'd be a really good replacement.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see.
Burberry. He reminds me of Christopher
Kane.
The guy who was before.
Is it Christopher Kane?
No, not Christopher Kane. The one who was before Riccardo Tisci at Burberry. It was, what was his name? Christopher something.
I can't remember.
Come on. If anyone's brain's working.
Was it Christopher Bailey?
Christopher Bailey, that's it. Well
done. Yeah, so this collection is quite interesting because apparently his dad passed away during COVID. I read. So he's doing influences about his dad's memory, hence the I think it's a football team that he does with the stripes.
Yeah.
I don't know which football team it is. So I quite like these patterned ones. I love this top. Lots of textures.
He's really good. He's really good. Really good. And I think he'd be brilliant at Burberry.
Yes, I mean, I just want to wear his clothes.
Yeah.
Very wearable.
Maybe Burberry's too conservative for him, but I reckon he could make Burberry edgy.
I think so. Oh, it looks so cute.
Let's wait and see. We could be a good guest there.
I know, right? I mean, I didn't get to a lot of keywords into his things: social, casual, sustainable, commercial, innovative. Anybody else?
It's quite graphic because they're quite graphic shapes.
Yeah, graphic.
And quite slick.
Ooh.
But you said classic before, and I think it's also a good one.
Oh yeah, classic. Yeah. Thanks. Let's see. So, if you guys were to illustrate his collection, what would you think about using? Maybe not pen and ink.
I would even use watercolor for some things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not mainly, but
yeah. What about gouache? Gouache could be. It's a bit. I feel like it's a bit tough. Acrylic could be nice. I feel like any material you can use for his collection. Watercolor, gouache, pencils, paints. Posca markers, collage, acrylic.
Yeah, I think that's nice.
Okay. All right. So last one is Burberry. Everybody knows Burberry. It's from England, from London. I just wrote history. I mean, you can find so many things about it, but what I thought was really interesting no, it's not this one. The new Burberry. Which one is that? This, oh, I got a chat. They canceled their show. Oh, they canceled their show?
I just got a LinkedIn notification that they did.
No.
What are we gonna do? Fashion. What day do we have Burberry for?
I don't know, but anyway, we can let's carry on.
Yeah.
I'm even if we have to draw the past Burberry show, but I'm pretty sure there'll be stuff that goes up on Burberry. Let's look at Burberry from a different point of view. It could be through social media. It could be looking at the history of Burberry. Maybe we could do that, because that's connected to the royals. How has royalty and Burberry worked together to create fashion? So maybe that's what we do.
Let me just write that down. How is royalty in light of the Queen?
Yeah.
Royalty.
I know, because Stephanie asked earlier before you came on, will Fashion Week be cancelled because of the Queen? And I didn't think so, but if Burberry's cancelling,
who knows?
I'm gonna message a few people ASAP.
It's gonna be crazy. What I thought, everybody knows Burberry, the traditional stuff. What I found was really interesting about Burberry is their new brand essence and DNA. So improving their product value, they wanted to modernize their fabrics, reinvent the silhouette, and they wanted to define their brand attributes like disruptive, utopic, individual, invincible, gallivanters, which I thought was quite interesting. It's not very Burberry.
I was going to say it isn't, but I guess gallivanters is a bit like a nomad, but sort of a bit more aggressive than a nomad. So they're quite powerful characters.
Yes, yeah. I can see a warrior wearing a Burberry coat.
Yes, well, from them words they've said there, it is.
Yeah, creator decided that the magician and rebel archetypes were a better fit for the future of the brand, since these personas centered around the themes of transformation, metamorphosis, and pursuit of freedom. Wow. So yeah, I put this link in the document. I just thought it was really.
How did you find that? Because that's actually an interesting.
I have my sources.
But it's actually a really interesting write-up. Like it's quite open.
Because I'm trying to, each brand, I was trying to look for their brand DNA, because I think it's really important to know. And this just popped up because I'm sure it's new. I think it's last year, maybe. Yeah, it's last year. So it's quite new. And it's really interesting for Gen Z, millennials and Gen Z.
I think the words really resonate with the youngsters and also the metaverse, because they are really spreading into the metaverse space.
Profiling the customer, they found value centered around power, leaving a legacy, reinvention, and emotional connection. These consumers value brands with a clear viewpoint that can communicate with them in an authentic and meaningful way. Business goals, blah, blah, blah.
It's funny, I was just reading there, Emma Watson is their brand ambassador, but she's just become Prada's as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's, I don't understand. She seems to be on everyone's lips as the future.
Really? How interesting is that? But yeah, so that's
nice. I like that.
Yeah, so they have this like little graph thing. Maybe we can all use this.
Well, we were talking about this earlier from a commercial point of view, and Burberry's very commercial. I think that's quite a good little like sort of template of like how to think better.
Yeah. So yeah, the title is How Burberry Executed One of the Most Successful Brand Identity. Because do you remember a few years ago, Burberry was like old and nobody wanted to wear Burberry. Do you remember that
Well,
time?
Burberry has gone through many moments, but I guess because of copies and its association in the UK with chavs and
yes.
do you remember the hats worn by football thugs? And
yes.
they really needed to disconnect, but Ricardo kind of used it and boycotted it. So he was quite clever with what he did. And I think it was kind of a good outcome, but Burberry will always rise up again. So
definitely. Yeah, I mean, you can read the history of Burberry here. Oh yeah, Christopher Bailey, Louis Vuitton. So yeah, you can look at all the shows. When I was looking at the recent show, I can see Ricardo. Is it Ricardo Tisci?
Yeah,
no,
Tisci,
yeah. I can see his influence.
Yeah. It's all about styling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about the skirt.
It's style heavy.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
It's the Italians. They're really all about styling.
Yeah. I mean, quite modern.
Yeah.
But
to
still
me, it looks a little bit confused.
Yeah, it's a bit wacky.
Yeah, it's got like Montclair mixed with something else, mixed with some. It's trying to appeal to too many. I think there's too much.
Yeah, like this big skirt thing.
Yeah, it doesn't say much. Style over substance.
That's true.
Where if you think of Balenciaga, it's a statement.
Yeah, I love Balenciaga.
Yeah, so Balenciaga at the moment with Demna, he's really making a statement where these are kind of invisible pieces.
Neither here or there, like that's a bit odd.
It's a bit nothing.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think they'll keep him.
Oh, I see.
And we'll see anyway. But now the show's not on, we're gonna have to come up with a master plan.
We'll have to have a chat after. But yeah, so that was the designers.
Good, perfect.
I will put this in the Slack, this document, so you can
lovely.
go back and have a look at the links and stuff that you're more interested in. And yeah, I can't wait to see all your drawings. You gotta do them. Do them with me.
So I just got a message here by Pigeon. It's saying that all the shows will go on apart from the ones on the day of the funeral of the Queen. So whatever day the funeral is going to be.
Was going to be.
Yes, it might be the day that Burberry's showing. So nothing's confirmed. So, but it's just the message that the British Fashion Council is confirming that Fashion Week is going ahead, apart from the shows on the day of the funeral. And we don't know when that is.
I heard on the news tonight that the funeral's in 5 days.
Wow, that's fast.
Oh,
you know more than us.
Wait a second. 5 days. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, that's on Wednesday.
So that looks. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's quite fast.
Well, they must have some kind of specific sort of time.
On the news, someone's saying it could be the 19th. So, and the 19th is a Monday. I'm not here anyway. I think we're more or less done because 17th and 18th we've got Fashion Scout and then Milan. So, God knows. We're not that quick on information, right? I can see 4 messages in the chat. Did they cancel the show yet? Business of Fashion and more business of fashion.
The last article says that the organizers from the Fashion Week suggest that the shows that they cancel parties and that they just release the pictures after the funeral, I think, something like that.
Okay.
You know?
Okay, so they're trying to be respectful. All right. So hopefully everybody, that was a very academic experience on this course, which was quite nice. And preparing yourself for the shows. So I think that's the goal now, is like we went through that, and we'll share that document, and the crits will be we'll embed it. So it will be more evening based work rather than day. So Connie will be doing all of them in the evening.
Yes.
And you know, you're there to come. So come and soak it all in, have the experience. I can't remember, Tomeo, did you do any of the crits? I think you did.
Yeah, last
Oh,
time.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
yes, I
did.
did too. Yeah, I did too.
And they're quite, it was quite, I guess, because 3 people get selected, it's quite, how did you find them? Did you listen to the talks as well? Did you stay?
Yeah. I listened to all the talk. They were very constructive, very instructive, very good. Yeah, it's worth doing. Yeah,
it's
this
worth
time
doing.
I'm doing all of them.
Oh, good. Yes.
Trying.
And what we'll do is we'll have a feed and we'll put the hashtag up where you could share the artworks, and then we'll see what we can do to get as many spoken about as fast as possible. Maybe we might do a rapid crit where we could go through as many as we can, because we were more selective last time. We tried to do like 3 different styles. So I think maybe we might do like speed crit.
Yeah, that could be cool.
It could, yeah. So we don't know. We'll just try different things. So it could be like, here's an artist, 5 minutes, everyone give their feedback. Next one, do like a clinic. So we could be trying that. So anyway, I know Connie. Thank you, Connie, again.
No worries.
And sharing your time.
Excited to see pretty stuff.
Yeah. So the crit will be coming. Obviously what you've all learned this week with Connie and learned with Chris about doing some time drawings and some speed drawings and some paintings. That should give you enough until next week. Please have a look at the designers that we're going to be covering for the fashion weeks. And start working in your sketchbook, start drawing in your sketchbook, start collecting items, because on Monday, I think when we meet, I've got you down for a Monday meeting, we're going to be talking more about sketchbooks. So yeah, so you've got me at 12 on Monday, and I'm going to go through some of my sketchbooks. It's a shame I can't look at Connie's because she's got some as well. But yeah, so we'll be talking about visual research and sketchbook work. So that could be quite an interesting one for you. So enjoy your day. I know it was quite heavy and wordy rather than drawing, but today was really just a sort of a wrap up of the week, and hopefully a bit more insightful about how, as fashion designers, as fashion illustrators, as fashion communicators, how you sort of interrogate the brand to get a new outcome. So it isn't just, here's a nice image and I'm just going to draw it. You're really interrogating the work that you're drawing. So any work that you're potentially going to create, really kind of consider how the brand works, how they think. You know, how would I get Roxanda to look at my work? If I made 3D sculptures of her things, would she be more interested to look at my pieces rather than you have a one way of working? I think that's sort of what we're digging at and hoping to achieve. So have a good day. Thank you for those who've stayed up. Thank you for those who've got up early. I know it's difficult and it will be hard, and you'll hopefully be tired at the end of these 4 weeks, but it will be, you know, rewarding. So thank you, everybody. And I know we didn't cancel even though the Queen died. You know, the show still went on. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you soon.
Hey,
bye-bye.
Hey, thank you. See you. Thank you.
bye.